Last hour, Governor Haslam announced a new multi-phase plan and listening tour to improve TNReady testing. The listening tour will have 6 stops throughout the state. It starts Friday in Knoxville. The online test had several issues over the past few years and prompted a number of complaints from educators, parents, and students. Governor Haslam says the criticism is warranted, but the state wants to move forward.
In this very charged and sensitive environment, we can spend time pointing fingers and casting blame and talking about how we got here, or we can work to fix the problem. I am committed to do everything I can as governor before I leave to get this right.
The governor also formed a 3-member advisory team to guide the feedback sessions, which includes Maryville City Director of Schools Mike Winstead. After the tour, Governor Haslam says the next step is to take that feedback and refine requirements for the state's next testing partner and provide oversight of the fall test administration.